I do think that purpose is so necessary. And especially, like, I guess I found it easy to find my purpose because I was already on that path, sort of. And I do think that was like one of the things that enabled me to get past the accident so quickly. And I don't know, like, somehow using your pain, like, transforming it into something that you can connect with others with. It's like
Yeah.
maybe the tough things that you've been dealt, like that is the way, you know? And I think that the more you can use that power, lean into that. It's like maybe the hard things do show you your purpose to you.
Welcome to the Angels and Awakening podcast, where we connect you with your angels, loved ones, and soul self. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius. My journey began when I started hearing my late father before I knew he'd passed. Through my readings, membership, and Angel Reiki School, I help you awaken, heal, and master your unique spiritual gifts. If you feel called to work with me, it's your angels guiding you to discover your soul's highest purpose. Details at theangelmedium.com. Thank you, Earth Angels, for the 5-star reviews. You're entered into a drawing to win a free session. Now, let's see what messages your angels have for you today. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. Here we are with an angel story today. We have Grace Nixon Peterson and Leah Nixon. You probably know them over on Instagram, Tiny and Snail. They have a beautiful business that is just so spiritual and an amazing story to go along with that. Leah and Grace, welcome to the show.
It's really nice to chat with you and be here.
So first, tell everybody where you are over on Instagram and what you do.
We love to party over on Instagram. So we're at tiny_and_snail. And we are two sisters on a mission to help the world, one gorgeous greeting card at a time and one heartfelt handwritten note at a time.
So where did this come from? And there's a backstory here with an angel story in here that you have to share with the audience.
Well, we grew up sisters and we always did creative projects together. When we were in our late 20s, we were both like trying to find meaningful work. And she had started a greeting card company on Etsy, hand painting greeting cards individually. And meanwhile, I was trying to sell oil paintings, but I kind of lacked like the organizational side of things. And Grace's wrists were kind of being killed by the repetitive nature of what she was doing. And so one day I was like, Grace, what if we work together? I know how to digitize things and we can print it out and like I can help with that and you can be my brain and help me with like the all of the taxes, legal stuff that goes along with the business. We started Tiny and Snail, and then I started working a day job working with Habitat for Humanity. I was actually like on site building houses, and a lot of that was really cool work. Like I loved getting to work with, especially there were a lot of female homeowners who were like, putting in this equity to work on their houses. And so I was the only woman on the job site, and like I felt like that was a really cool thing to be able to be, an example of like somebody or a woman who knows how to use power tools. One day we were putting up rafters and we were using a big machine called the telehandler. It's a 22,000-pound machine. It's sort of like a forklift, but with a really long arm. And I was on the ground holding the guide rope. So like we'd scoop the rafter up on the arm and hoist it into the air and tie a guide rope around it so that it wouldn't swing around and like hit somebody out of the second story of the house. But it had rained really hard at lunch that day and we decided to keep going. And the last thing I remember, I felt like a little mouse leading a brontosaurus. Then when when I woke up, I was in the ICU. But essentially what happened is the telehandler fell over and pushed me back and it instantly like burst my T4, T5 vertebrae. So I was paralyzed from about the chest down. The arm pinned my leg to the ground, and so I was bleeding profusely. And there was a former Marine on site who jumped out of the second story and like whipped off his belt and tied it around my leg as a tourniquet. So like, thank God he was on site that day because he knew what to do. Yeah, while I was under the telehandler, they entirely replaced my bloodstream and I was rushed to the hospital. I spent 29 days in the ICU and then was in rehab in Denver for 3 months. And then in rehab, like more advanced rehab in Omaha for another 3 months. So, like you said, not everything happens for a reason necessarily, but I think there was just so many coincidences about everything. Grace, well, maybe you can take over the story.
We grew up in South Dakota, and that's where Leah moved back to. So she at the time and still is now living in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota where our parents are. And my husband and I are in Milwaukee. My mom called me that day of Leah's accident, and she just like, I have something really hard to tell you. Like, Leah was in a super bad accident, and we don't really know what she's alive right now, but like, it's bad, and I think you should come home. So yeah, it's been 6 years. When I go back to that spot, like that phone call, oh, it's still just so much. So yeah, I just remember like sobbing to my husband on the couch that night and just praying so hard. I just said, like, God, you have to let her live, and you have to let her still have use of her hands, because I just knew like art is threaded through Leah's life in such a deep way. And she has this incredible gift as an artist. Like, we're both artists, but Leah, it is just woven through her being, and she's like dedicated so much of her life to it. She went to college for it. I'm like her biggest fan. And anytime she sends me something, I'm just like, it's gold. This is so good. And so, yeah, but with like a spinal cord injury, you just don't know if the hands will be in use. And so, anyway, so those were my two biggest prayers: just God, let her live, and let her still use her hands. And I flew home the next day. She was completely under, she had been through this massive surgery. I think it was more than 12 hours long, just trying to save her. And she was intubated. And at that time she couldn't speak, but even when she kind of like came to, definitely couldn't talk to us yet. But the very first message that she spelled out into my hand, like she was able to spell, and I was pretty good at interpreting the letters that she was trying to write. And the very first thing she asked was, can I still draw? And we were able to say, yeah, you can still draw. Like, your hand is spelling into hand. Like, your hands have been saved. And so, like Leah said, just all these little coincidences, or yeah, divine lifelines, I guess. It's like, if that telehandler would have snapped just slightly higher, or it's like Leah's paralyzed from the armpits down. And so it just is really phenomenal that her brain was spared and her hands were spared. And those are the two huge things that have allowed us to jump into Tiny and Snail. Wow. Even more. We had started the company actually like a year before her accident, but the accident just completely, I think, really shaped the trajectory of where we were going as a company, where we are as a company now. It has given us such a depth that never would have been there before. And I think it shows through in every card, every piece of art. I think allows other people to like enter in their own suffering and joy, and like all of the, like, life is just so many things. It's suffering, it's joy, it's beauty, it's darkness, like just all of these things. And we just happen to experience a crash course in it and are trying to spin that into gold.
When we talk to different guests on the podcast, Leah, there's some people who, and I don't think that one's right and one's wrong. They're just two different soul types. That one person is more easy than the other to just laser focus with that mindset of, okay, this happened. These were the cards that I was dealt. I don't like it, but my only way is forward. So I'm going to keep my eyes forward and I'm going to keep my heart on hope. And others need some healing and to work through some things in order to get to that mindset. Did you have to do work on yourself to get to that space? Or was it there right from the get-go?
Yeah, I fit in this to the first category, I think. And I think it's partly because there were sort of, I don't know, I am a very spiritual person. When I was in college, I had this premonition that something was going to happen to me when I was younger, in my 30s or something. I thought I was going to be cancer, but when I woke up in the ICU, I was like, oh, this is what it was. Okay. And now that it's, done with, that makes a lot of sense. And this is my thing. And even just 2 weeks before my accident happened, I was laying rebar on a 90-degree day and just thinking oh gosh, when will I be able to transition part-time to Tiny and Snail? And so then when I woke up, I was like, well, there's my answer, not working on a construction site anymore. So I think having those sort of inklings that something was going to change, that was a huge grace that I was given. And I think that did help me embrace my new life. Also, just the fact that I was alive still, because I honestly, there were a few times in the ICU where, oh gosh, I felt like I was kind of approaching this inky blackness. And every time that happened, somebody from my family would come hold my hand. And I was like, I cannot leave. I just had a lot of grace surrounding the whole thing. I'm meant to be here. And if I weren't, I wouldn't be here anymore. I had an incredible amount of support around me. And my boyfriend and I were kind of broken up at the time, and he was living in Kentucky still. And when he heard about my accident, he flew home right away. And I guess I was finger spelling his name into Grace's hand. Yeah, he was just there. Then, I don't know, a week or a couple weeks after, I just said to him, would you want to get married? And he was like, of course. I don't know. That was another thing that, I think I had this illusion that life was going to go on forever. And then when my accident happened, I was like, oh, apparently you never know when things are going to change. So, let's just do this. And I think, he had already, I don't know, had his own, thing going on. And I just was spiritually delayed or something. And the accident just made me catch up to him so quickly. And so now we have a 3-year-old. I'm, yeah, very happy. And so, there's just been so much support. Yeah, I realized that he was such a perfect person to go through this with me because he's very practical. He's an engineer. So he's just very focused on okay, how do we make this work? And he can, help adjust things on my wheelchair or find solutions for me. And he even changes my catheter and he's just not afraid of that sort of thing. I don't know. It just made a lot of sense. I was like, oh, wow. You really are the perfect person. I just wasn't the right person for you, before this all happened.
Friends, here's a list of our free and paid upcoming events. Black Friday sales start now. You can join my membership or Angel Reiki School at the best price of the year, plus get special bonuses that are only available now. Join my live Deepening Your Connection with Your Loved Ones on the Other Side course starting December 1st. This is free for members with limited paid spots for non-members. Free workshop November 27th at 8 p.m. Central on how to hear your loved ones in heaven. And join our free prayer meeting right before that at 7 p.m. Central. Sign up for all of this and more at theangelmedium.com/events.
And
Yeah.
I think Leah has said this before, and it made me laugh, because she, in the past, I think was such a hummingbird in a way, really captivated by cooking, building tiny houses, construction, art, just poetry, just all these things. And when the accident happened, she kind of said, as she was like processing in that month in the ICU, I was there, like I had the gift of being there every single day with her in the ICU. I stayed that full month with her and my family. And so we just talked a lot. We would have like 3 a.m. chats and be reading Mary Oliver poetry and like listening to Joan Mitchell and talking about our childhood and talking about God and the universe and just all these amazing things. And one thing that Leah said is she's like, I kind of feel like I was at a train station, just like not getting on the train. And my train is art and sharing that with the world. And God was like, get on that train. Like, this is your train. And now I do feel like because of her accident, one, just very practically is limited. Like, Leah can't be working on big construction projects anymore or do a lot of things. And she has just done such a good job of being like, this is my path. I love this path. I'm good at this path. I'm serving people this path and I'm going to be on it. And it is really beautiful to see all of the people, like all of these customers reach out daily now. We'll hear stories about people being like, I am going through the hardest time right now. And you popped into my life. These cards and your message, like it's genuinely helping me right now. I sent this specific card to this person, and here's the situation they're going through. And they sent me the most beautiful message saying like that this was the thing that like really lifted them up. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, I think, how Leah, I mean, both of us, but I give so much of the credit to Leah. It's like she was able to take this absolute tragedy and turn it into good.
There's so much that I want to say, but what a miracle after miracle after miracle. Like, I'm still just in shock of the story itself. I mean, the positioning of how things had to fall and where you were, and oh my goodness, the Marine being there that day that really saved your life because, oh my God, to get a blood infusion on the spot is so much. I want to go back though to something that you said, Grace, because I've told this story before on the podcast, but a daughter who was born medically fragile and she coded multiple times within the first few months of life at home, at the hospital. And it was just the hardest thing to go through and experience. But the night that it happened at home, and I still can't talk about it without getting emotional because I really thought that she was gone that night. Her little body just didn't have any life to it whatsoever. And I ran outside to just kind of wave the paramedics in to where my husband and my daughter and a family member were. I just sat down and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed because it was the only thing that I could do in that moment. I knew that it's a really hard thing to say, but my husband is just such a kind and caring soul. I didn't know that he could kind of go on with life, not with her. And I just kept asking God over and over again to let me have another chance at being a mom because I didn't feel like I was going to get that again if I lost her that evening. And I'll never forget them like rushing in and this woman just coming out who was a paramedic and saying, she's okay, she's breathing again. And it's just like the biggest blessing and the biggest miracle. And I know that, I don't talk about the Bible a lot, but I know that the Bible talks about prayer. There's just a different energy with prayer that when multiple people are praying for the same thing, or you just sit down in a moment of just complete chaos and you talk to God, universe, source, you say, I am at a fork in the road here. Like my life is completely different based on how this all goes. I need help. There's just so much that can come through and happen, which is why we started a free prayer night for this community. And I do a little mini workshop after on a different topic each month. But it was so fascinating. We did the first one in August and everybody just came together in this different energy of just complete humble open heart to God, universe, source. And some people were just going through really, really major things. One woman had just lost her adult son, 18-year-old son. People were going through major life events, illnesses, divorce. And yet you could feel this just force of energy come in to the Zoom event, and you could almost see it going to each person that was there as we were praying for each person. Grace, how do you think about prayer now and miracles?
I thought a lot about this in the ICU, especially. It's such a mystery because I know a lot of beautiful people who have been prayed for and they don't get the outcome that they're praying for, And so I'm never one to say, oh, I know that this is absolutely what prayer does because there's a lot that I don't get it. Like why things necessarily happen the way they do. And I feel like our family so far has just been like, the luckiest unlucky family, basically. But I was talking with one of our really good friends during Leah's stay in the ICU and talking about prayer and quantum physics and just all these things in the universe that it's like we don't really understand them and we've just maybe scraped the surface, or they've done those studies with like twins who will be totally separated by hundreds of miles, but one is in a car accident and the other like feels it in their body, or and they've done like research studies too, I think, on twins and like physically separated them and then like done random things, the other of it registers in their bodies. So it's things like that that make me step back and say, like, I don't really know how God works with prayer, but I do think there's like something in us being able to send actual waves of like healing and support to the person or the people who are suffering and has to count for something. So anyway, that's kind
I
of where
love
I've
it.
landed with it.
Friends, I just want to thank you for sharing each episode with your friends. Because of you, we've hit nearly 10 million downloads a year. Wow. As a thank you and gift, please enjoy my free 31-day angel success formula at theangelmedium.com so you can start connecting with your angels today. And please share today's episode if you've enjoyed it and tag me at Angel Podcast. And I love that you said that because I wrote that down. There are moms who I talked to who said, but Julie, I've prayed and the outcome didn't go the way that I wanted it to. And that just kills my heart. Leah, back over to you. What's your message for people listening that you can take something, and even though that wasn't your choice, I don't believe that everything happens for a reason, but these were the cards that you were dealt, and you can create purpose from that. Has that been healing of in and of itself? And what message do you have for everybody listening about that?
I do think that purpose is so necessary. And especially, like, I guess I found it easy to find my purpose because I was already on that path, sort of. And I do think that was like one of the things that enabled me to get past the accident so quickly. And I don't know. But yeah, like somehow using your pain, like transforming it into something that you can connect with others with, like, I think that's really huge. And from other artists as well, I've heard the same thing. And, even though if I went back to August 14th and had to make the decision again, like, oh, would you like to be crushed by a telehandler? Like, it would be really, really hard to say yes. Like, and I guess that's where sort of like fate comes in and just like, it's out of my control, like it happened, you had to just play the cards that you've been dealt. And I'm naturally very much a stoic, just learning more about stoic philosophy of how to get past traumatic events. It's like a you don't look back sort of thing. I think that being able to, well, I don't know. I started this book, but I haven't read all of it, but it's The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And like, it just makes a lot of sense. It's like
Yeah.
maybe the tough things that you've been dealt, like that is the way, you know? And I think that the more you can use that power, lean into that, it's like maybe the hard things do show you your purpose to you. And I think with Tiny and Snail, that was totally true. Like, I think before the accident happened, Grace and I had sort of like, we liked sending cards, you know, it was a fun, sweet thing to do. But after the accident, it was like, holy crap, like this, you know, I received so many letters in the ICU, and like each one was sort of just like a little bit of a dose of dopamine to help me keep going. And so I think that just learning the power of handwritten notes and just being able to like drill into. So I have, even though I'm paralyzed and can't feel anything below my chest, I live with nerve pain constantly. Like, except when I'm sleeping, I can't feel it, but it feels like every cell in my lower body is like screaming out in pain, sort of. And that honestly has been probably the hardest thing to deal with. And it's taken me a long time to come to peace with it. And like, I'm pretty at peace with it. Every morning I wake up and I'm like, dang it. Like, dang it, I'm just still in pain, you know? But I don't know. Even that is sort of like a grace to me. I think it's like, it reminds me that like every day is a gift. And I think that I really tap into it when I'm drawing. Like, I can feel other people's pain, and like you know, all our situations might be different, but it definitely like pours into my art. And the hardest things in your life to like create that purpose. And you know, like life doesn't go on for all of us. Like for all of us, there is an end. And so I think that like, and that's one of the hardest parts is like learning to lose people and lose things, and even dealing with your own like mortality. And like, we're all given these things to deal with. And I think the power is being able to connect with other people because of those experiences.
Leah, would you mind if
You
we
know,
prayed for you right now and asked the audience to pray for you as well?
Sure.
Okay, maybe Grace and I can close our eyes and just, I'm going to have everybody who's listening, unless you're driving, take your hands like you're kind of just holding them up and your palms are facing Leah Nixon. And I want you to just imagine that all that is God, universe, source energy, it's the energy of everything everywhere. It's in everything and everyone, so vast and infinite that it's not coming from you, right? You're not depleting any of your power. You're just tapping into the energy of all that is. And you open up the crown at the top of your head by just seeing this little opening, size of a quarter, the size of a bottle of soda, open at the top of your head. And this energy of God, universe, source just streams through you like this beautiful, gentle waterfall. It's powerful but peaceful. And this energy just begins to fill the top of your head and move down, flowing into the shoulders, through the hands, through the palms of your hands. And with our intent, we're focusing all of this energy of God, universe, source to go over to Leah. And we ask this energy, God, universe, source, to surround Leah in her auric field, in her body, in her chakras, to just allow this yummy, tingly energy, oneness, love of God to come in and surround her physical body, come into her body, into every cell within her body. To see all of this energy as just little micro angels within her, helping her body to be at peace, at ease, helping relax just the cells within her body, the bones, the tendons, every fiber within. And we ask angels to surround Leah, surround her not just now, but her entire life, to help her heal to the maximum extent possible, to help lessen this pain to the least it can be, and to help Leah continue to share her art, her creativity, her soul through her work, her writing, but also just to help her share her message of miracles, of love with everybody. In this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for letting me do that.
Thank you.
Oh, I just love you both so much. I want to come over and just give you big hugs.
Aw,
Yeah.
it's really nice to chat with you, Julie.
Yeah, I miss handwritten cards. Handwritten cards were wonderful. I remember being an 80s, 90s kid. We would do like pen pals to one another in school. And actually, my elementary school taught us about mailing cards and letters by creating a school post office. So each classroom had an address, and you could mail letters every day to another person in another classroom. Like I could mail them down to my sister in a lower grade or mail them to a friend in a different classroom. But there was a place where they got sorted, and it was just so fun to learn when we were younger how to write cards. And I think it's missing today in the world. We were taught in the 90s and 2000s that when somebody does something nice, you send them a thank you card, which I was not always the best at, ADHD, but for job opportunities, always did, and in business. And yeah, it's definitely missing today. So tell everybody where they can find you, because your work and the energy, oh my gosh, you just feel it shining through the images. Tell everyone where they can find you.
So our website is tinyandsnail.com, and that's where you can shop all of our cards, our latest collection. You can also sign up for our email newsletter. I will say this is one newsletter that is legitimately so good. Like Leah absolutely just pours into it every week. And so it's not just this, hey, here's this sale going on. It's like legitimately beautiful content. And we've had a lot of people be like, oh my gosh, I look forward to your Sunday newsletter every single week. So anyway, so you can get on the newsletter, and yeah, over on Instagram. So those are the main places to find us.
Thank you so much for being you and the work that you're doing, and just letting your souls shine through, because I can just feel your energy so palpably in everything that you do. And I'm just so grateful that you're both here and spreading your message. Thank you.
Oh, thanks
Thank
for
you,
having us.
Julie.
You have such a warmth to you, and
Yeah.
it's just a really beautiful way to spend this afternoon.
Thank you, ladies. If you feel called to become a certified angel messenger, energy healer, and medium, join my Angel Reiki school to learn all three at once. I'll also give you my secret sauce for building a successful, sustainable spiritual business. We're in person November 2024 and April 2025, or start the Angel Reiki school online on the first of the month. For personal messages from your spirit team, book a one-on-one reading with me. New slots are released monthly via email. Join my membership to grow spiritually, heal deeply, and connect with your angels for daily guidance and support on your personal journey. Visit theangelmedium.com/contact. Have an angel story? Share it at theangelmedium.com/contact to inspire our community with hope and love. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you back here Monday with a brand new episode.